Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
You're seriously doing an amazing job, and it's so awesome that you have people that do that.
So how are you, my friend?
I'm super, honestly, I'm great. I'm having a great day.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm like super chill. I think I was talking to a person at the grocery store about this. Like, I was in finance tech for a long time, and that I didn't know anything about money or finance walking in, and I really just but I absorbed it, and I was around people with like doctorates in mathematics, and it was like a medium-sized company, so I got like really like direct access to traders and shit, and I was doing help desk stuff, so like I was helping people out, and like I just got to like really absorb it. And I went from being like, wow, this is crazy, nobody can ever know this is so complicated, to, oh my God, this is all a fucking pyramid scheme and a scam, and it's just gambling. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I kind of lost faith in the system a really long time ago. And so now that it's like all actually falling apart and other people are like realizing it,
There I was thinking that you were about to be like, I made a lot of money
exactly
today. Instead, it's like watching people lose money today is giving.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's happening. I mean, because I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, let me use this information to try to sell it, right? That's like that's like what people do, right? Market manipulation shit. Like, I sold like lots of stocks months ago because I saw my termination coming, whether it was from activism or whether it was because the fucking market and everything was just going to crash. I didn't know which one, but I knew it was coming. And so it's like, I have been preparing for this moment, and it was like, which is why I was like, whatever. Okay. Like, I'm taking time off. Cool. Like,
that is awesome. And listen, man, not about selling it, but about sharing it, right? So that type of information, and we've already started, by the way. I don't see any reason why we can't start. YouTube, yeah, meat squid tips, butterfly screams. We'll talk later. So, no, I got you. So I'm gonna do the full introduction, and then we're gonna continue on this. You've met us in the middle. I'm thinking I'm going to keep it just like this, YouTube. Welcome to Political Drain. I'm Drill Sergeant. You know the deal. I got two very special people with me. One of them is Butterfly Screams, who, out of sheer will and love for what we're doing here, has decided she wanted to help to join this specific show where we're interviewing the one and only Squid Tips. And I will let you tell your introduction, and then we're going to circle back to this sharing versus selling thing.
I'm AJ. I go by Squid Tips online. I make motorcycle content. That's how I started. But then, like many YouTube people, it became just about the things I was doing and my life. I'm a tech guy, kind of by trade. I was most recently a cybersecurity engineer at a little company called Nordstrom for a while. And then, I was at a finance tech company, which we were just talking about. And so through that, I have developed a certain set of skills that now that I am more of activist minded, I got very connected to the trans community because my kind of gimmick is that I'm the inclusive motorcycle guy. I'm the guy that's not going to use slurs and stuff, which surprisingly, that was actually kind of hard for people to find. And people really, that built a really amazing community around me. And through that, I have learned about community and the power of it. And I've wanted to like develop that more. And that's kind of what my channel has become about. And I integrate motorcycles into all of it because if you know motorcycle riders, like it's a tight-knit community for a reason. Like, people kind of tend to think the same about some important issues like freedom and like, risk tolerance and fun. And so, and that has driven my YouTube career. I've got about 180,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's my primary platform. I've also got an Instagram and a TikTok. I hate TikTok. TikTok won't post most of my stuff. So YouTube's my main platform. And I make essays and I make shorts and I kind of make a lot of random stuff, which is why the algorithm doesn't love me. I think it'd be a more popular YouTuber if I niched down, as they call it, but I kind of just post what I want.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
That is awesome. First of all, we're going to talk about that community. The fact that you said that there's a motorcycle content void for people who say, yeah, we include everybody. I was going to ask about that. What is that community like? Are you a person who's not normal in that type of community? Or are they just underrepresented? We're going to talk about all of it. Sharing versus selling this money information. This is why I want to talk about, because we were already on it, right? I like to stream of consciousness. The things that you learn, do you think it's important to let other people know what it is you know, what it is you saw? If you're not selling it, would you give it away, or would you tell them stay away?
Yeah. So let me just take a step back and let me state the obvious. I'm a white guy in America, and like I got blonde hair and I got blue eyes. I am one of the most Aryan looking motherfuckers that you will
Indeed.
ever. Oh, and dude, how much I'm trying not to swear as much, but
Nah, fuck that, man. Fuck
okay,
out
okay.
here.
I've been told it's better for optics to
Yes,
to
you're right.
avoid it.
You're 100%
It's more shareable, so I'm gonna try not to.
100%
But
correct.
I cuss a lot in real life. But yeah. So I have a lot of privileges, and like I was raised in a very like lower middle class background. Like I came from a trucker and a postal worker. That was who raised me. And like I remember like a lot of my family being on food stamps. And I remember a lot of people needing to come live with us because my father's been arrested. Like a lot of people have been through the prison system and stuff. And like I just got to see a lot of that. And then I grew up in an area like right across from Portland, Oregon called Vancouver, Washington. And I went to I was kind of in a community that had a lot of like the projects, like different like socialized housing that like a lot of my best friends were Laotian and Pacific Islander and Black. And like I played a lot of sports. So like I was just constantly like diversity was just there. And it was very confusing to me when I moved to Alaska and I was with a lot of white people and things were very different. And anyway, so I acknowledge and I'm aware of that privilege. I'm also aware of like historically, right? I think we're now like more people are needing to learn about the history of this country, which I went through public school education and it is dog shit. And it is especially dog shit with history. And it seems to really avoid teaching like Americans like what the fuck is it about? So as much as but I didn't get a college education. I have a very strange path to my career, which is I just worked really hard and I listened and I studied and I just kind of I acknowledged that I just needed to pick things up as I was going. And I'm an intelligent guy and I'm gifted in that way. You know, I have ADHD, but that's it. And I've got the kind of ADHD where I talk really loud and I move my hands a lot and it's advantageous in a lot of ways. So yeah, I want to bring people up with me. That's what I notice is the difference between me and the people around me who were poor or were not doing as well. It wasn't because I was better than them. It was just because I had some advantages and I got a couple of lucky breaks and that just became very clear to me. And so I care about other people and I'm empathetic, you know, all the things the right wing says about masculinity are bad, like empathy. I just totally disagree with all of that.
Right.
I don't think any of that is good for men. And I grew up in these hyper masculine environments like athletics. I almost went to college for sports. If I didn't have terrible grades, because I blame ADHD for that. But
Yep.
yeah, I think I could have potentially gone into athletics, but I didn't. I had to pay my own way and I struggled in college and I know kind of the normal and I paid off all my student loans. I took out $20,000 in student loans, got nothing for it, you know? I empathize with the common man and that's who I want to be with. Oh, and sorry, the point I was trying to make is that in those hyper masculine environments, I realized that you can't bring other people. I couldn't bring my female friends into those environments. I couldn't bring my queer friends into those environments. They just didn't feel safe. It didn't work for them. And that became my problem. And that was when I started to step away from those environments because I was I guess I need to build my own thing because I struggled in the other environments too. I struggled in the environments that were more left leaning, like the queer spaces. I stepped on people's toes and I came off in way people when you look like me, you kind of just don't get the same level of and I before I became more aware of things.
Why? That's what I was gonna say. Let's talk about that. Why? What did you step on toes with? What did you? I have a feeling there's an education there, right?
Sure. So my education is a very street education, like everything. So I think the most important, impactful moments to this like direction were in 2017. A cop, like I was riding my motorcycle and I stopped. I was sped past a detective, and he just randomly like got out of his car and drew a gun on me and just like held it on me. And I was just like hands up, and we had this like interaction. I couldn't hear him or anything. He's like yelling at me, and we're like in the middle of fucking traffic. And I was just like, can you not shoot me? Like, can you drop the gun, you know? But that led me to a whole series of things happening, which if you've gone through in my content, you'll see I talk about it a lot. But I ended up like suing the sheriff's department and winning and forcing them to change their policies and like winning money off of that. And that gave me a really like direct look at the justice system and how corrupt it is and how many problems there are it is and how bad the prison system is. And I've had like fines. I've had to do work crew in Washington State, and I've felt the dehumanization of it. I hate policing and I hate cops. And if you ride a motorcycle, you will just have to interact with the police. Just in some ways, how it's like being black. Like you're just gonna have more fucking interactions with cops. It's just gonna come up more. And so that led me to when 2020 happened, the Chop Chaz situation happened, which I don't know how aware you are of that, but like for your audience who may not be aware, there was a protest here after George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin, and there was a lot of unrest. Seattle was a place where there was marches. People were in the streets because we have a very activist culture here historically. Seattle's been a place of a lot of different like occupations and the WTO and Occupy Wall Street. And there's been a lot of activity. So that activated and people were in the streets. And I was like, holy shit, people are mad about cops. Me too. Yeah. This is great. Like, let's go. And we actually ended up occupying a series, like just a very small block in like this very central location. But like the cops that are kitty corner, a precinct is kitty corner to this park, they just left. They were so scared that people were going to like pitchfork them or whatever. I don't know. Like again, cops are just terrified of everything. So they just abandoned their precinct randomly one night. And it was like a huge scandal, but it led to people like put up mutual aid and like street vendors came in and people were just playing. It was like a park atmosphere for like 14 days. And then it got a little violent and then things started to happen. And like, anyway, and then it broke down like everything else. But that led me to meeting a bunch of queer people and activist organizers and realizing, holy shit, the people that are out here and are actually like looking to make the change that I want to see in the world, they are these marginalized groups. It's women, people of color, and queer people. Like that's it. And then when trans people were under attack, like I got to know a trans person through my Discord, and I was like really fucking pissed off. Like basically like tail end of Trump's first election was just the trans rhetoric was just amping up, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna take a fucking stand. And I really thought the video was gonna be nothing. I thought I was going to totally tank my views, and I thought it was going to like lead to just a subscriber bleed. I was at like 10,000 subs at this, or 50,000 subs at this moment. That video became my biggest watch video. It hit over 1 million. It's the only video I've ever made that hit over 1 million views, but it was just me telling a story of like learning trans acceptance and learning about queer people. And yeah, and that just got a very different community like came to me, and it led me to meeting my partner who I've been with for over 2 years now, who's trans. And like, I have more trans friends than anything else like surrounding me. And so their fight is my fight. Like those are my people. Like I used to turn, like, I'm not an ally. I am a soldier in the Trans Foreign Legion. Like that's where I'm at. Like my freedom is no different than theirs and so yeah, that's basically my story.
Somewhere in there was the answer to that question, and I think I heard it in the time that it takes to ingratiate yourself to a community. Those missteps that may have happened, or how you looked, or how you sounded, or how whatever those things that you considered missteps are simply unavoidable, maybe. But you have to be willing to go through it if you're going to be an ally, right? You have to listen. Yeah. I had the exact same idea. Now, since we're here, How unique is that in your community, in the cycling community, the motorcycling community? Not cycling. I don't mean you're not driving the Tour de France. I mean, in the motorcycling community, how unique is that?
What being trans or
is your view
my view
of wanting to be an ally, your view of that listening? Because I'll give you two examples, and you tell me which one represents what you know more. Someone's running for Congress in Ohio. His name is Lieutenant Colonel retired Malcolm Ritchie. Big time biker. All right. Yeah, yeah. He is Malcolm Ritchie for Congress.com. Everybody check him out. Anyway, super lefty, big time biker. And he put me in with kind of one of the biggest bike organization, biker gangs, whatever you want to call them, in Atlanta. And this guy's name is Dragon. And he does everything he can to not be political, to get away from it at all costs and not even go anywhere close to it. And as far as he's concerned, like, you're just not going to get him to talk about that shit. You're not get him to care about. I know that he cares about it. He's a vet. But he thinks that it's better for him and his organization to never, ever talk about these things, never, ever have that be the case. The two dichotomy. This guy introduced me to this guy, right? And they're together, but they could not be two further apart people when it comes to the willingness to want change, the willingness to do the listening, the willingness to be inclusive of every sexuality, of every sexual preference, of even every political opinion, if you will, right? How unique are you in that space? Between those two, which one is more on what you've seen, what you know?
Well, I don't want to sound like I'm special or anything, but I think I'm a unique person in that I'm very empathetic to everyone, and I've always kind of been that way for a lot of the reasons we've described. And so I am kind of I uniquely feel able to walk in multiple worlds. Like, I have a lot of conservative friends. I know a guy who I mean, he is legit like a Nick Fuentes, like, watching Nazi, but I'm friendly with him, and I met him in motorcycle communities, and like, he just wants me to agree with him, and I just want him to understand that it's not just the Jews, and it's definitely other people, and like, it's class thing, right? So that is unique, and my identity is why, right? I don't threaten those people. If I meet your motorcycle club is what they would call it now, motorcycle club,
right,
the head of Dragon, he would look at me and immediately he'd be like he would see the tattoos. He wouldn't give a shit about my nails at all, right? Motorcycle communities are filled with outsiders. Like, they just are. It's filled with people who are used to being marginalized, either in some way, because as odd as it is, like, driving a motorcycle in the America specifically makes you an outsider to people. There's so much just stigma, pressure, like, there's so much like media, and like, people have just built up bias around it. Like, people see bikers as
there's a stigma about it, right? Like,
yeah. And I never would have believed it, like, had I not lived this fucking life for 18 years, 20 years almost. And so that just is going to bring people on the outside. But like, that is often queer people, and that is often like people who have been through the carceral system, especially people who've done time at some point, or like run into the law, like, and lived on the fringes. And it's sad, but I think I am, unfortunately, for men like me, I think I'm unique, but that's only because so many clubs are filled with men, because automotive stuff is just, and motorsports has just been a male dominated activity. And we live in a country where men, the normal type of masculinity is toxic to women specifically, and femininity in a lot of ways, and it sees it as weak, and it's specifically like, and queerness is obviously wrapped up into that, and people are so intent on being masculine and demonstrating masculinity, and it's like so much like cutting down is like, these are just common things, and it's like, Yeah, like men are just normalized to that. So, like an example, Texas, I've had like arguments with Texas motor vloggers that are about my size or a little bigger because they've said transphobic things, and I've tried to convince them otherwise. But it's also religion. You know, religion is also tied. Like
Hmm.
there's a lot of religious motorcycle clubs too. I would just avoid putting any specific name on motorcycle clubs because they are kind of unique. But like they're support groups for men, and they're very masculine, and it sucks because if these men would just open up their minds, they would realize they really connect with, like, the trans people in my community are like really into guns and shit, a lot of them, and
Yeah.
that's another commonality. Like they're very into like the technical aspects of it. They don't ride just to like for fun. Like they really like they're the mechanics and stuff too. And that's what's disappointing about it is like they're letting their bias and all of this other bullshit about society like seep in and prevent them from building a better community.
No, it's funny. There's another head of a motorcycle organization, and that guy is named D Dragon in Atlanta, D Dragon or something like that. Anyway, there's another head of one in Florida, Biker Lexi, and she is the leader. And it's like all girls, and it's so funny because she's a person of color. She's a person who is religious, a Christian, and she's a person who is not really. I mean, I would say queer. That is the best way because she has a husband, but she has no problem she had a girlfriend before, and she's talked about it, and she's a Christian. So the fact that male dominated, that toxicity, right, that comes from our group is kind of shown when you look at the dichotomy with her group. The person who's leading it is all the things that make you different, right? So it makes sense. That makes sense. So I'll say this. There's a question there that deals with just the norms, right? The side that you live in, and knowing both sides that you have to navigate as a biker channel, and the side that you have at home, this utopia. I think actually Butterfly may have a question that that leads to that. Do you want to ask that for me, Butterfly?
I don't know if it fits or not. I think what appeals to me about you, Alex, or is it AJ or Alex? Which would you
You can
prefer
call
to
me
be?
whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I realized it's on the bottom left. That's totally cool.
Uh, is that like you exude empathy and compassion in your videos. Like I can just feel it, like from the other side of the TV screen. And so I've just been drawn to your content just on that alone, your activism and your, I guess, anarchist takes. So a lot of my interest is in the more intellectual sides of the things that you bring to the table. And so the question that Doug is referring to is I wanted to ask you, I don't know if this fits or not, so Doug, feel free to edit it out. Um, is do you find yourself caught between the two worlds of your anarchist utopia and the world that we have now?
I would ask you to maybe define an anarchist utopia. What anarchist utopia you're talking about? I don't think I know what that is yet.
Oh, yeah, I'm also learning as well. But what I would personally like to see is a lot less hierarchy in terms of like decision making power, more power to the people, kind of more participatory, direct type of democracy, more power being localized to the communities that are directly impacted by the decisions that are being made and that sort of thing. Um, Basically, the complete and total opposite of a representative democracy, which is what we have now. And I feel like there's a lot of we put a lot of hopes and prayers and hope that these politicians are going to save the day. And I don't know, I just have a lot of problems with the current system, and I find myself struggling pretty regularly, both mentally and emotionally, dealing with like my dreamer, anarchist utopia, I guess, that I imagine in my mind, and like the reality of where people are in my real life who would hear the word anarchy and totally freak the fuck out. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
So I would describe myself very pragmatic. I think that, but I think like what you're talking about, right? It's not that what you're describing is like a vision of like, man, I really want these things. And we can all look at our society and say, wow, affordability is a huge fucking problem for most people. Shit is like people literally can't afford to like eat, they can't afford to own a home. Like the American dream is not actually accessible to most people in our country. And we can say,
Right.
well, how could we give it to them? Well, we can add, if we could just wish away, if we could just make it, oh, take the money out of politics. Okay, cool. Yeah, that would be great. How the fuck do we get there? You know, how the fuck do you do that? I don't actually have a very utopian because I abandoned the system that we exist in
Hmm.
a while ago, and it's actually kind of connected to my divorce, and I made a short about it recently. But like through my divorce, I worked really hard. Like I was married to someone for 10 years. We worked very hard on our relationship, and we both cared about each other a lot. There was a lot of love, and that was the problem is that we had some really dysfunctional issues and like stuff that had just piled up over years. And at the end of the day, we just really weren't compatible. Like my lifestyle is not for everyone as much as like it's just not, you know, like there's a lot of people that look at me and think I'm a fucking insane person. There's a lot of women that would not want to be with someone like me because the things that I'm doing, like she just couldn't handle the risk that I was taking. It made her anxious. And so anyway, I learned through that you can't always fix things. Like as much as you can love and care about something and want it, it ain't gonna work. And that's how I feel about what we got today. I
Hmm.
do not see a way of going from where we're at here with our current system to the things that we know are create justice, which is like equality, like
I
living
1000%
conditions and
agree.
shit. Yeah. So I'm actually super short term and relatively pragmatic, actually. I can see the direction. The direction is total economic collapse. When I don't know. You know, I can't say confidently. I think it's pretty soon. I think it's in the next
I agree.
3 years within at least. And I think it's going to be very obvious. I think this next holiday season, at the end of this, because I spent a long time in retail. I spent like basically between Nordstrom and Best Buy, I spent like over 12 years in retail. So I
Don't you
think
feel
that this
like
is going to
it's
be, yeah,
don't
I
you
think
feel
it's going
like
to be
it's pretty
terrible.
intentional, like too, that it's happening? Like it's
Totally.
undeniable, you know what I mean?
And I'm so stoked because a right wing conservative fascist president did it all. He's the one that destroyed the government. That's awesome because that's what I wanted to do. But like and now we don't let the left doesn't need to take the blame for it. We can just rebuild. That's what we do
Yes.
best. And so that is what I've realized is that we need to the at the end of the day, we like whatever's happening in Washington, I can't control it. I can't impact like I've abandoned again electoral politics for the most part, except for Katie Wilson, except for local specific things. Like we just got our version of Zoran, and it's like people are just now figuring this out. But we just elected a mayor, and I was a part of it. I helped platform her very early in her campaign. I was a huge advocate for her in the queer community that was like massively voting for her, and she is running on social housing. She is running on taxing the rich, and that is where real impact can happen. So, but other than that, other than getting her elected and then helping her execute that strategy, I don't get involved in any of that shit. I would never give money to any party. Fuck you. No, I put my money into the community around me, which is my crew of motorcycle friends and people and activists that like we get connected with. We are working on building parallel systems like
Yes.
micro lending services. Like I would love to do that, like free interest free loans of small amounts to help people get through problems, you know, food stuff, helping bringing people up, having like a regular check-in and sinks and mental health stuff. And like people just need help right now. Like a lot of my crew is not the wealthy people at all. Like my crew is poor queer people. It is trans people who are in the marginalized of society. Many of them people of color, right? Like the people that are the most fucked over in society. That's who come to me because those are the ones that are looking for tactical, strategic, like how do I survive? And riding a motorcycle and like just using that. Many of my friends only own motorcycles because it is so much because a car is inaffordable to them for because it's yeah. Anyway, that's the next
Gotcha.
problem is all these people who aren't going to pay for their cars and shit. And more people I think are going to be moving to motorcycles for literal economic reasons. But yeah. So that's how I see it. I don't actually have I don't think I have a very utopian vision. My vision is like pretty short. I used to be like, part of the reason I sold all my stocks is because I used to be like everyone else. I used to think I'm going to retire at 60 and whatever. I don't believe that anymore. I think I'm going to die pretty
Same.
early. Maybe 10 years. I'd love to, but I don't know. I don't look that far. I'm looking next week, next month, maybe next year, because the world is so, again, something I learned through my financial services, it is unpredictable. The market is unpredictable. As much as I believe what I believe, and I don't know. And so, but I'm just short term. So I'm going to construct the world we want to live in very, very
I
slowly.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. You inspire me so much in that regard. So just keep doing what you're doing. But if you don't mind, I'd like to kind of expand on that and hoping that maybe you have some advice or some tips for me because I made the decision about 3 years ago to leave my job, move my family to the woods of Tennessee. Because much like you, I kind of see the writing on the wall. And so my whole thought was, just get out to the woods, try to become more self-reliant. After I've been here long enough, I'll get to know the community. I can kind of start there, right? The problem is, now that I'm here, is that the community that I live in is like highly religious, highly white, as you can imagine, highly all the things that kind of run counter to who I am and what I believe in.
So you're
And so
saying you moved into Clan Alley? That's what's going on here? Did you know it was Clan Alley?
Curious. I mean,
I moved from South Louisiana. And
okay.
so I had been to Tennessee like once before. And I don't know, maybe I was a little naive about, where I was going and what I was doing. I just knew that I had to get away from academia. Like I just needed out. I needed an entirely different life at that stage.
Yeah.
Um, but now that I'm here, I've joined Sons of Liberty in hopes of finding people. And through Sons of Liberty, that's how I found Doug. And I'm slowly meeting people online that I'm connecting with. However, what I'm discovering is that my politics are really fucking radical. And I get a lot of strange looks whenever I start talking to people about like what we should be doing, how we should be resisting. And I'm
Welcome
just
to being a
having,
leftist. That's how
yes.
I once had an anarchist tell me he was like, he was Canadian. You can go watch Re-Education. I did an interview with him where he says this, but he's like, the shitty part about being a leftist is that usually you sound like a crazy person because you're going to sound like a doomer and people are going to think you're fucking nuts. The other problem is that you're usually right. So that's it's like
That has been my absolute
yeah.
experience, especially here and growing up in the South, born and raised. I don't know how I became the person I am, but I am who I am at this point. And I'm lonely as fuck if I'm being 1000% honest. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that you can provide me with some tips or some advice on how to find other radically minded people who want to build parallel economies, want to build, you know, parallel structures, all of that good stuff.
Do you feel safe in your community, like physically?
Um, well, yeah, oddly enough, my neighbor, I actually get along with them very great, like very good. Like
Perfect.
in fact, they just recently had a fire and I gave them our RV and like so I'm doing everything I can like to build something with people maybe I don't even agree with. You know what I mean?
Yes. That's
Oh,
you've led so you are what we call the tip of the spear, and that is what I also seek to be. And that's really I mean that's really my mentality is that if you have the privilege, if you are in a position to safely advocate for whatever, even if it's just a tiny thing, if it's just even at building relationship, you have to cultivate that. Like that's the shitty part is everything is a slow process. We can't just
yeah.
magic shit in together, but people have been taught that's the cheat code that electoral politics is supposed to do. It's supposed to let the best, that's what neoliberalism taught us, right? The best ideas will win. Then we'll just end up with abundance or whatever the fuck they're
Yeah.
selling. Like that's the lie. And that doesn't work. And we as anarchists, we just have to acknowledge that. And like, no, you have to slowly connect with people and you're doing it. That's the great part is like you have the empathy, you saw it and you do that. And that's your first crack. And what I think you will find is that because this is how I felt. So in retail, I sold Macs, Apple computers for like 2 years. And I did this during like 2008, 2010. Like, I sat in a Best Buy for 2 years and I took people who were like, Macs, those are fucking overpriced toys, don't do fucking shit, not compatible with anything. And I sold those motherfuckers Macs and I got good at it. I was like one of the best salespeople there because you learn that that's just fucking, they just don't know anything, right? It's just ignorance, like 99% of it. And most people are when they're doing that, they want to be challenged. They want to have the conversation. So the goal for you is to figure out how to get to the point where you're having those conversations in like a healthy, not in a non-confrontational way. Cause that was always the first thing I had to do was they're like, blah, 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 this. I'm like, oh, interesting. What do you do on a computer? You have to start asking them questions. And that's the mistake a lot of leftists make is they want to get right to selling people on it and explaining things and demonstrating their intelligence. And they don't want to they don't want to do the work of building the relationship first, which is absolutely a requirement, especially when you're talking about revolutionary politics that are like meeting the moment we are in now, which is very different. Like people need, it's very different than what people have been taught in school. And like, you're really just, and especially with the religion, you're going up against a lot of built-in knowledge, and you have to be empathetic to that, and you have to understand, like, you can't, like, people don't just flip on a dime. Like, you can lead them to it, you can help them, but they're the ones that are going to have to make the path. They're going to have to decide that they want to learn and become that. And and a lot of people, maybe you're never going to get to that point where you're even having those conversations. That's okay. Just I would just look at you being the person you are and being friendly and nice and demonstrating that no, you're not a fucking crazy person. And actually people who get labeled Antifa or have your beliefs are just caring people, and are good members of their community. That's the goal. Anarchists and communists are always the ones that lead revolutions like at the time, and you do it by building up this trust. And sometimes you're just biting for that moment, right? Because it's going to come for your community at some point. And if you're in the position to help, if you got people's trust, you're going to be able to things can change very rapidly. That's what I would always remember. It may feel like impossible now, but like if you cultivate, if you put in the work.
Yeah, I told Doug not too long ago that so far my strategy is to just kind of intelligence gather, I guess. That's how I'm kind of
Yeah.
seeing it, is like,
Get to know
just
people.
going over, listening, hanging out, and like you said, asking questions. And so it's nice to hear that both you and Doug think that I'm kind of on the right track as far as like how to,
Do you read
I guess
theory?
get to know my neighbor.
I was just going to suggest you read Che Guevara's Guerrilla Warfare.
Let's go, Butterfly.
I have.
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Then you're there. You know what to do. You're doing it.
It was years ago, like back whenever I was like coming into my like radicalness, I guess you could say, like when I was still working in academia. So maybe I should revisit it. Maybe I should, remind myself. Unfortunately, I lost all my Che Guevara leftist theory books in a flood. So
it's free online. You can find read versions,
oh my gosh,
audio versions. You can get a library book. Easy to find in libraries if you have it.
So
PDFs
I was a
definitely
former
available.
librarian, so
That's a good question.
It's a great question. I want to add something to it if you don't mind. Here's a sharpener for that. If you know that you have constant flooding in an area and you know that those people are right or left, it honestly doesn't matter. You can try to fix the flooding in the area. You will never have to say, hey, I'm a leftist. Listening, finding out what they need, and being there to help them in that need or organizing them around that need. By the time they even find out that you have a left or right leaning, none of that matters.
Yeah, and we are, especially with people, this is the thing. The people in charge and the people that have caused all this are massive liars, in fact.
And they're all a part of the same parties.
Exactly.
Fuck them all.
We are. So this is how action is becoming, people are going to need action. Like that is how you build trust. Absolutely. People have finally realized that words don't matter, that you can be lied to, and that there's a lot of just people just grifting and lying, and it's all coming apart. So yeah, for sure. Like what you did with that RV, so great. I'm so glad to hear you did that. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually enjoying getting to know them. Like, I mean, I can assure you, like, we probably don't have much in common in terms of politics, but we don't talk about that. You know what
Not
I mean?
yet.
We talk, yeah, I know, right? I do try to, every now and then, like if like a type of conversation comes up where there's an opportunity to kind of clown on a billionaire or something, I'll, try to take that opportunity and make a little snide comment or whatever. But that's about the extent of it. You know what I mean? I don't really try to like give away too much because I have this fear, like you said, AJ, that shit's about to fall apart like big time. And I for years now have been imagining that day when like things break down to such a degree you've got like roving militias on the streets, knocking on doors and shit. So i'm like I'm like trying to keep a real low profile around here, you know what I mean? Just lead with my kindness is basically my
Yeah.
strategy at this point.
That's why I don't worry. That's why when Cam Higby sent his whole crew of people after me, like when I was getting hundreds of death threats, I didn't even care. I was like, oh, there's nothing but Nazis on Twitter. Oh, let me just turn this one off. I don't need my Twitter account anymore. Fuck Twitter. Like it was so I didn't give a shit because I don't fear people in my community. If someone, none of these motherfuckers live here at all. Nobody, not even the people who come in to antagonize and like cause issues, like the people in Portland tonight, people in Portland, like there's a whole crew of like white supremacists, these like MAGA red hat fuckheads that are doing this shit, but they all come from outside the community. I mean, these people are literally, they need to be seen as invaders. The fact that you are part of that community and you are instantiating yourself, like you're not, nobody's going to come after you. Like that's not the thing. You're going to come together and like, yeah. And that's why I like look. Did you watch my revolutionary optimism video? Or
Is that one of your older ones?
it's like 6 months old. Doesn't matter. Didn't watch it. It's
Okay.
fine.
It's
Revolutionary
very
optimism.
possible I did. I've watched a lot of your more recent ones. I just
Oh,
can't remember the names.
it was like right after. It was like it was like the one with the anarchist flag on it. It was very clearly
Oh
anarchist.
no, I'm gonna have to go look for that.
So yeah, I recommend that. I recommend for your audience to check it out. And it's because it's basically it was what happened after Trump got elected and people were feeling really fucking down. And I was like, yo, here's what we do. Check this out. When he says to do stuff that we don't want to do, what if we just didn't do it? Like
Right.
that's basically the video.
There you
So
go.
Hmm.
it's that, but it's really emphasizing how riding a motorcycle, teaches you to push the boundaries of the law. To like when someone tells you like I'm gonna take your rights, you say, nah, try. You can try, because that's how I have thought about for a long time. Like my grandmother, the person I was raised with, like she was not a trustworthy like person to be around, and she lied and manipulated me, and that taught me you got to question authority. Everybody needs to be questioned authority, but you need to question every
Yes.
law to
Amen.
survive this moment. Like if you're expecting the government to tell you what is right and wrong to do, you're not gonna be prepared for what's coming, and you're gonna get really hurt. And
So I want to talk about the moment, violence, um, the revolutionary optimism. You are saying, listen, we know, and I am saying we know that this side is extremely violent and they can't wait for the violence. You are pro rights and you're also for, civil disobedience at the best. I mean, on the best day. But on the worst day, you walk up to someone and rip their own property off of the table. Now, is that violence? Is that violence? Is that apologies? Or is that something sanctioned because of the time that we're in and realizing that maybe the aversion to risk needs to be dialed back a notch in order to get what's done in an authoritarian state? Is it something to apologize for? Is it something to sanction? Why? Why not?
yeah, I would definitely I'm extremely comfortable calling it violence if we're also willing to say that like Cam Higby's rhetoric, which is like we are all Charlie Kirk. They are trying to come after all of us. If you don't, they're coming to kill all of us. You need to get it through your head. Like if we can agree that that is a form of violence in the same way that like a cop showing up to a crime scene is the beginning of a force process, and like once he goes for his gun, we're now in like a different, if we can acknowledge all that, I'm totally comfortable being like, yeah, pulling that guy's sign down is totally a form of violence. It's property destruction. I destroyed his property. He put it right back up and just taped it right back up because I didn't rip it in half or anything. I just pulled the tape off, right? And that's, but like now we need to put the whole thing in context, which is that this is also a guy who purposely goes to like queer events in order to generate propaganda that is expressly anti-queer. He is a guy who commits violence actively. We've seen that on video. Like he does petty, like all the things that he blames other people for, he will also do. So that's where we get into the complexity of it, the paradox of tolerance. Do we tolerate those who do these things? And I just think that very clearly there's a line where when somebody believes in an ideology, Kim Higby, like this Donald Trump ideology, it is an ideology of dominance over other people. There is a hierarchy, and there are people that are in the club and there are people that are not. You're in the Trump club or you're the fucking enemy. And it has never been more clear that if you do not love this, what's going on, you are that. And that's a violent ideology. And when you have that, there's not a lot of ideologies that are like it, very fortunately. Like most are just not that way. But this one is. And so in that case, yeah, I think that me going there to confront him, and I think had I just said it in a different way, not yelled at him and screamed and not pulled that down, I think, there's nothing to complain about. But if you don't do these things, like I literally just posted a comment about this today with all of the Epstein stuff, because I asked Kem Higby about the Epstein stuff and he blew cover for it. And I didn't get it on video. Otherwise I would show it. But he is supporting a ring of elite predators at the top of our country. I mean, it's well, Megyn Kelly the world we live in.
Megyn Kelly says as long as they're 15, then it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, no big deal. At some point you have to, like, this is the problem, is there are contradictions in our society that we have never resolved. Bodily autonomy is a very simple one. And you can find all the issues that go into that. You've got abortion, you've got trans issues, you've got kids issues, like, but bodily autonomy as a whole has not been decided. And we are going to come to violence to it, because this regime, when this regime is intent on doing violence, as it so clearly is, there is nobody who is intellectually honest who does not say that what is happening is they are looking to trigger violence actively. You have to be able to defend yourself. Like, that's just how it works. And you can read Sun Tzu, you can read game theory. Like, there are very clear, like, strategies that are demonstrated to win. And what wins is to meet force with force and never go above. We never go above and we never start it. That's how that's what I say. So
two things. If I can hold in my ADHD goddamn brain, if I can hold these in here. The idea is, when the game theory, the whole Sun Tzu of it all, is violence is not a reward or response for an emotional response. Violence as a tool is an important part of this resistance, right? Self-defense is one of them, is one reason for the violence, but even how you use it in self-defense as a tool. And the other one is the understanding of your enemy. Your enemy only understands bullying and hierarchy. If you have any other way, if you would have gone in any other way, it would not have gotten the response that would have moved the needle. I think the response that happened because of that, both to the people watching who agreed with it or to those who didn't, I believe that it moved the needle. That move, that violence, whether I call it violence or not. And I was really just asking because I'd like to know what you thought about it, or had you thought about it. But the idea that the game theory, I just want my audience to know in full transparency, when you are at a place where an authoritarian regime has showed you that they're willing to do the most, and people show you who they are and how they covet your peace and how they will take advantage of your decency. At that point, you realize that being in someone's face, being violent, is not just a self-defense mechanism, although you should always defend yourself, but it's a tool that is used when needed. And yeah, I'm with that. In case you didn't know, YouTube, this is me and you talking. Yes, I'm with that. You need to know how to use it. Hit me up in the email, I'll tell you. It's not something to do willy-nilly, and it doesn't have to be illegal. But if it is, make sure that it leaves the mark it's supposed to and gets the results that you need in the end. And now back to
violence is not.
That's how I do
thank you for saying all of that. I totally agree. Violence is never the tool you want to reach for first. You actually want to do everything in your possible power to avoid violence, if at all possible. And when we say violence, and when I mean that, I'm mainly saying like actual, what most people would consider violence, like physical conflict, firing, shooting, weaponry, like that. I'm not talking about like pulling.
Even what you did, pulling a sign down, is not something you would do if it wasn't for the fact that trans people's lives are at risk, and the response that you needed to get from that wouldn't have been gotten by a sit down at a table before pulling the sign.
Yeah, I mean, he's defending ICE. He's defending ICE abducting people. What ICE is doing is far worse
people's
than
lives
that,
are at risk.
And you're totally right. In that context, although I am not immediately in danger in that moment, he is running cover for people that are doing active violence, that are killing people, that are abducting people, that are putting exactly. Which is why most people at the end, like I just put that poll up asking what people thought. Most people are like, nah, dude, you didn't go far enough. That guy should not feel safe in like civil society.
Thank you.
So yeah, but I did want to say that. Are you familiar with? I'm Nelson Mandela? I recently read a book called How to Blow Up a Pipeline, and there's a quote from Nelson Mandela, and it's about the key to like getting to a successful resistance movement is the way he described it was the anvil of peaceful resistance is struck with the hammer of violent response, and it's basically like. It's called the radical flank effect. And I'm sure you know what that is, but like you need the peaceful resistance. You need to demonstrate that like this is a popular movement. Like this is, and we have that. The No Kings is very clear. There are millions of people that are extremely pissed off about this. Like there is no way short of completely ignoring like factual reality to identify that most Americans do not want. Many people, Joe Rogan, all these people have massive buyer's regret on what is fucking happening. But many people have simply made peace with it, like the tech oligarchs, and are like, well, we're going to use it for whatever we can do. But that is necessary, but like that's not going to be enough because power doesn't fear people going out and standing in the street. They fear Charlie Kirk. What happened to Charlie Kirk? That's why Elon Musk is terrified to go out, like they fear their livelihoods being damaged. They fear their reputation. These people are small. Many of these people are not intelligent or all that smart, right? They fear a lot of things. They're driven by fear. But yeah.
Well, so let's make sure that this is also 100% clear. If you believe that what happened to Charlie Kirk is somehow good, you're a fucking idiot. Let me get my camera back on, because the response to that would be exactly what it was. And we don't even know. Now nobody even knows this guy. Nobody talks about it anymore. Probably was the government that did it in the first place. Listen, all of that
banging JD Vance.
You know what I mean? All of that set aside, I'm okay with saying I don't know. That's it. All of that set aside, the deal is, when I said, if you make sure that the response or the outcome of that violence is one that improves the organization, the movement, one that you planned for, then it's a tool. Going out there and shooting somebody, and if they find out it's a leftist, all it does is get more people hurt, takes people away from your side, and doesn't help not one person. If you meet me on 20th on the Capitol grounds, and we show up in the thousands and intimidating thousands of people at the doorstep and inside the Capitol building of the people who need the vote, who can write the law, who can remove the regime, who can start the process of getting from the lowest people to the highest out of here. And don't say, well, you know what, we're gonna if you do an impeachment, it's not gonna work. Impeach who? There's a lot of people to impeach before they get to Trump. Give up already. Or there's a different type of violence that you can use as a tool. I can intimidate you if I had 25 people and you were alone and never have to touch you. Well, imagine if there was 1,000 in your office, in your secretary's office. You guys don't feel me. Y'all don't understand me out there. I know Squid hears me, but y'all don't hear me out there. There's a tool called violence that has degrees. One could be throwing a sign, huh? One could be standing in thousands in the face of someone who believes that before that day, they were immune to that number of people, who believes that before that day, their door was closed and could not be opened. And before that day, they could walk to their car unencumbered. Huh? There's a way to do it. I'll see you on the 20th. How about that? Now, are you going to be there on the 20th, sir? 20, 21st, 22nd. I know you probably just heard about it, like, was it last Tuesday? But we're going to the Capitol on the 20th. The 21st is the Veterans March, and the 22nd is the day that the Dropkick Murphys and all the bands and the whole big thing. We're trying to make it in the thousands. What do you think? Do you have the time?
In D.C.?
I know it's kind of quick notice. Yeah, in D.C., in Washington, D.C. on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, 3-day march to remove the regime. And on the first day, 20th, is when we're all going into the Capitol like we did before.
Okay. Well, first off, love it. Second off, I'm unemployed, so I don't have a ticket there. And I live across the country, but I'm just now hearing about it. So generally, probably not. I don't want anybody to look for me there, but now I'm going to start looking into it. Yeah. And at a minimum, I want to engage in the discourse and maybe help bring attention to it. And
okay. So I thought maybe they talked to you, because when the lights go out and I come in at the end of an hour and a half long conversation, like we did on that last Tuesday for the live. I didn't know what you guys talked about, but I thought that maybe they talked to you about it. But since you don't know, hey, by the way, the Removal Coalition, of which SOL, Sons of Liberty, and Political Drain, this right here, is a part. We are doing that 3 days. Now, I can give you some flyers and stuff that you can post, or that you can do whatever. We're trying to get as many people there as possible, and it's for the simple cause of removing these people. We're not giving up on that. We're not giving up on impeachment. And if you think it won't work, fine. How about the secretaries? Or how about the next person that can be impeached? There's a lot of cabinet members. There's judges. How about we start at the lowest person that we think we can win, and to intimidate the next one up and remove this entire regime? And that's what we're asking for. And that legislation to get drawn up. We've got a few senators and a few House members who have already been, I'll be nice, convinced to do something when the last time we showed up at their offices.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
At a minimum, it's good to do something. You know what? It doesn't fucking work? Bitching about it on Blue Sky or Twitter. Or, posting about it isn't going to solve the problem. I respect anybody who is doing literally anything to organize against it, as long as you've got like you're saying, as long as you've thought it through, as long as you've done the analysis. And for anybody in your audience, since getting fired from Nordstrom for doing all that stuff, for pulling Cam Higbee's sign down, like the terrorist I am, the Trantifa super soldier that he calls me, he's done. Yeah. I've been making a lot of activist content to help people learn about security culture, to help protect themselves, to help people understand what it looks like in the street. Because what I have realized, that the feedback I just constantly am getting is people are like, thank God for showing me what it looks like, because there's so much propaganda and we live in such fragmented digital worlds. And that is how so many people get their experience of like what things are happening in different communities. Yeah, I've had people ask me like, okay, cool. How do I get started? Like, how do I do it safely? And I'll be honest, there's way too much fear of this organization, of these people. Like there is a lack of understanding that like there's a massive series of things that have to happen, from shit coming out of that guy's fucking mouth or any of those other dipshits to like it actually executing on the ground. And it's way more than just like lawsuits and shit. It's like people got, at the end of the day, people got to put their, an ICE agent has to put their hands on somebody and has to take them, and nobody has to stop them. There's a huge distance between that. So
Yep.
AJ, actually, I know we're kind of winding down, but you just hit on something I wanted to ask about. I'm curious what you think the resistance to the tech monopoly on the horizon is going to look like.
So, hope maybe your audience, again, maybe I'm speaking to the choir, but what I believe is going to happen is that they are trying to build the techno security state faster than the state is collapsing. And I don't think they're going to get there. AI is a massive bubble. I can tell you, as a cybersecurity engineer who was being forced to use it and was part of like a specific team that was designed to learn about it and then educate the rest of my fucking company about it. It's going to eliminate a lot of jobs. It's definitely going to happen. And companies, whether or not it makes anything better, no, it's not. It's actually going to make everything way, way, way worse. Everything's just going to get a lot worse. That's what everyone should really expect until things completely collapse. And but yeah, they're going to try building that security state. And what they're going to be able to do,
are we talking about the
weaponize it against
network state?
Security state? Yeah, like surveillance
state.
Like, okay. Yeah, that's what like Larry Ellison, from the head of Oracle, that's what Palantir, like that is what they believe, right? They want you to feel surveilled constantly, so you are a good worker and you are just doing your job and you don't fuck around and fuck. Like it's very dystopian. Go watch V for Vendetta. That's what it looks like.
Yep.
But they're not going to get there. But they will target specific people and they will weaponize it against specific people. And so that's what I talk about in my security culture video. Is the biggest thing for people to understand is that they need to protect themselves and they need to focus on their own personal security, because the reality is that this state is not that good at pulling and investigating people. And like, they're not going to just grab you for going to a protest. They are very focused on people who are effective. If you are effective at distributing ICE, if you are somebody who, let's say, develops an app and puts that on the App Store that lets people track and report ICE, your shit's going to get taken down. Maybe they'll come for that guy. Probably not. They're going to let the company do their dirty work and stop that. I hope people go read. If anybody's thinking about going and doing stuff on the ground, you should really go read about what happened at a Dallas protest where a firework went off and then ICE just arrested a bunch of people and they threw them in detention just randomly for being in the fucking vicinity, which means that you should be prepared to escape and not let people get access to you, right? That's why it's focusing on your own risk. But I think that what we can do to stop that security state is divest from it. And it sucks, but that's what it is. I canceled my Amazon Prime subscription. I don't buy Alexa products. I don't put any of that techno shit that surveils you. I don't put any of that fucking shit in my house. Fuck that. I mean, that's, it's the basics. Like, don't surveil yourself, first off. And all these companies that are helping destroy our lives, stop giving them your money. Like, don't do it. Figure out a way around it. And it's hard sometimes. Like, I just bought an Android phone. I bought this to install Graphene OS, which is like this hyper secure OS, which most people don't need to do. To be totally clear, I think it's massively overkill for most people, but my name has been handed specifically to Donald Trump's fucking White House during that Antifa roundtable, like specifically. So I'm like, I need to take it.
Graphene OS, baby.
That's smart. It's very smart. But like most people that are just not, that are going in block, that are going to be maybe not the same way, but like, yeah, but getting out of the Apple ecosystem is what I'm trying to do. I want to stop giving Apple my money because I'm so disappointed watching Tim Cook, a gay man, like suck up to Trump. I want to get a Linux. I want to put Linux. I want to move my systems over, right? We have to stop giving money to them because they're using it to kill us. So yeah, that's what people can do, I think.
Balaji Srinivas Srinivas, I believe. Do you know who that is?
Balaji Srinivasan.
Srinivasan. Okay, there we go. Thank you very much, B. Balaji Srinivasan. You know who that is? Okay, so look that up. The idea of the network state, starting countries via online, via citizenship through
like digital ID type
digital
stuff.
IDs.
They want to create tech libertarian utopias, basically, that function like autonomous city states. It's quite disturbing. They're not hiding it. Every tech billionaire has probably their own ideal version of it, but Balaji Srinivasan is the network state guy. And there's definitely examples of it already happening in different places.
Yeah, it's coming. I mean, they're going to do it piece by piece, and disenfranchising us is the first step. The question is can we organize faster than they do that and the state collapses? That's really the question, because there's a power vacuum opening up right now, just wide as shit. And as material conditions fall for everybody else and people realize they cannot rely on the state to take care of them anymore, and they have to become more self-reliant, and they have to connect to other people, we need to fill the gaps.
So before we leave, I'm going to say the reason why we even have a chance is because arrogance always does this. If they were really smart, they might even win. Unfortunately, because they want to blow their load as fast as possible, like every other little boy who has never had experience in real life, and everything's been given to them, they got an orange fool for a president, an even dumber idiot to be in charge of the military, and a bunch of fucking bimbo idiot broads to be in charge of everything else that they are going to need to be in charge of. And this isn't to be misogynist. What this being is honest. They've got the dumbest fucking cabinet in the history of Earth, much less America. And because of how fast they've gone through and ruining and destroying lives, and ruining and destroying the economy, and ruining and destroying the auto industry and industries that they're going to need to help back them up, and ruining and destroying people who are in the parties who literally believed in Q for them only a few months ago. Like, that's the best thing we have going for us, YouTube. Is that they're idiots. Not that we've done anything right yet, but we have. But it's the fact of how dumb they are. Now's the time. Now's the time. Now's the time. Let's go, guys.
I think the SNAP benefit stuff was a perfect example. Like, we did a really good job as like a community broadly as this country of coming together to get people food. That's what we need to do. We just need to do that for a lot more stuff. And we're going to need to create intermesh networks of people, and we just need to get started. And yeah, these people are super beatable, not intelligent at all.
Yeah, they're just
very
dumb.
bad at hiding their cards. Again, we have every advantage in the world. The only disadvantage we have is we live in America, and America is capitalism fucking incarnate. And it's just very entrenched in people's minds. That's the enemy.
I'm loving it. Squid, man, I'm going to have you on again when I have more intelligent questions from Butterfly.
Thanks for being on. It's great. It's been great meeting you, Doug. I wanted to have like diverse opinions, and like I enjoy talking to people, and like I learn a lot, like you're a military guy. Like, it's been great getting to know like that this network of people exists, and that this is what you're talking about. Like, this helps me understand a whole side of like, this just fills me with confidence that we're fucking gonna win. And I hope I hope that's what your viewers feel. And just last thing I want to say is like, fucking boycott Starbucks. They're on their union. They're striking now. They expect it to be a very, very long strike. There's like 65 stores that are shutting down because there's like only a subset of like 17,000 whatever stores worldwide. But like, don't buy Starbucks, at least until the union contract's over. But realistically, you should probably just never buy Starbucks.
Probably just stop buying Starbucks.
Yeah, I mean, their coffee tastes like shit anyway.
I mean, my God, people, just stop.
Just stop. Solidarity. That's how we win. Solidarity.
By the way, there's a blackout going on, and I haven't been mentioning it enough. Do everything you can to not buy from anywhere. Go to your mom and pop. Trade. Go to, even if you're on Facebook Marketplace, they got free stuff. They got people who are trading. You can just look it up in Google. Do everything you can to spend the least amount as possible. And then I'm going to try to put up, maybe not in this one. Yeah, maybe in this one. I'm going to try to also put up specific ones that we're boycotting, period. But this entire blackout, we're going to let them know that every Christmas, they're not going to come up back in the black. And expect us to just get them to the black every Christmas, no matter how fucking, how much Nazi stuff they vote for, pay for, and put in front of us. Let's scare them. It should be terrifying, like your boy said. That can you imagine Christmas time?
We're hand making gifts in my community. That's what I'm excited to do. I love handmade gifts. I think they're very thoughtful. Like, yeah.
See what I'm talking about? See what I'm talking about, folks? It's just that simple, man. Listen, we're starting farming, indoor farms. I know it's wintertime. The Soggy Boggy Witch on this channel right here, at least once or twice a week, is giving you tips on starting the farm. It's not because we think it's fun and we're trying to appeal to house moms. The reason why is because we know that in order to win a resistance, you may have to learn how to grow your food. You may have to learn how to be self-sufficient and not buy anything. So I'm all about it. We're going to keep up talking. We're going to keep organizing. I promise you, my friend, there's a lot of things that we need to be getting into. And I cannot
Thanks,
wait.
Butterfly Screams, for introducing me and pushing for this. This has been great. So yeah.
No, thank you so much for coming on and indulging us and indulging me, because I could talk all day about this stuff. So I really
you got a lot of
appreciate
people in your
coming
community
on.
to talk to about it.
I know, right? Zero.
You can join my Discord. Join my Discord. You can talk to
You
people
have a
there.
Discord?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. I got like 3,600 people in it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll have to figure out how to do that.
It's easy. In my link, YouTube, all my links.
Oh,
It's been
okay.
great.
Cool.
Everybody go watch Squid Tips. Squid Tips, okay? As you can tell, not just good motorcycle content, although I did want to have, there's a question. I got a whole bunch of other stuff here that we just didn't get to because I like talking and we'll get to other questions next time you come on. How about that? So guys, watch. There's a level of intelligence I hope you've seen here, that something you can get from, I don't own a motorcycle, but I've learned something from watching everything that he puts out there. And if you like this channel, you'll love his. Thank you for coming.
By the way, I'm sorry. By the way, Squid, I just want to let you know, my neighbor I was telling you about, he's a motorcycle enthusiast.
You should give him my shit. See what he'll think. See what he thinks.
That's a great idea.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks.
Peace.
Good meeting y'all. And yeah, we'll talk again soon.
All right, man.
Later.
Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads. It's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on www.groovechillradio.com/political-drain and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.